Alrighty, good afternoon. Hopefully everyone can hear me okay. Super excited to be here. Colby, a huge thank you to the folks here at SOAR for providing me an opportunity to chat today. Also, a huge thank you to the folks of the Commonwealth. I see out here Tim and Hilda is a great example. Don't hold against me. I'm a transplant from the nation's capital and just moved here back in the December timeframe. But also what's really neat is I'll say thank you to the folks. I know there's a couple folks from the University of Kentucky here. We have a son who's a sophomore, and they're helping just further instill a lot of the values that my wife and I tried to put in our son over the past, I guess, 21 years. The first time I was actually drawn here to the Appalachian region was back in the late 80s. I'm a real avid outdoorsman. Just the beauty and all the great hiking and fishing and so forth drew me here. But I'll tell you, over the past 10 months, since I spent material time here in Kentucky, it's really the people, the values, and I'll tell you, that have just become near and dear to my heart. So today I'm going to be touching on where opportunities or where challenges, technology, and opportunities collide. But I actually wanted to start out with a little story. So just prior to the pandemic, I decided to go and visit my aunt and uncle. I was the favorite nephew. You do that from time to time. And as you can see here, the weather was brutal. I mean, the weather was literally below zero. It was snowing sideways, and I'm sure many of you can relate to this. I actually had a map on my iPhone, but about halfway into the drive, there was no cell coverage. I lost the map. So what should have been a 2-hour drive quickly turned into a 4-hour drive between getting lost as well as the weather. So when I finally arrived at my uncle's farm, I was elated, I was excited. But when I walked in the room, unfortunately, there was actually more worry than there was excitement. And it had nothing to do with how long it took me to get there and how long to arrive and was Brad safe. It was because my uncle was sick. And I'm sure some of you in the room, you can relate to this. Unfortunately, where he lives, there's no broadband. So there was no way for him to jump on and do some type of telehealth visit. There's no way to find out, was it just something minor, like, some type of cold or, sinus infection, or was it something serious? Because remember, this was just prior to the pandemic. So we sat there and we started to think, what are our options? Well, probably like many of you in the room also, he doesn't have any hospitals anywhere near. There's no way for him to quickly go and check in. So what we faced was, holy cow, we're going to have to turn around and do the same 4.5 hour drive back from where I came from to check and see if my uncle's okay. Thank goodness, thank God, it turned out he was okay. We took him back, but fast forward a year, sadly it wasn't the same for my aunt. She got sick. There was no way to get her to a hospital quickly. She came down with COVID, and sadly, she passed. That being said, that's my story, and I know a lot of you have a very similar story. I'm a technologist at heart. I have a deep passion, and so do the people at Accelicom, for public sector and for healthcare, but I'm also an optimist. And that's what really makes it neat in this space. Because I'm an optimist, I look at challenges and I search for opportunities. And that's where technology comes in. And if you just look up here and you look at how technology is being leveraged today, it's a great example. Is there anyone out here, and quickly, that's in the education space? All right, well, a huge thank you. My wife is an educator. She's a first grade teacher, teaches 6-year-olds. But here's what's crazy. My wife will come home and say, Brad, my content was buffering today. Help me understand, why should a 6th grade teacher, who her goal is for kids to have a kind heart and to be a proficient leader or a proficient reader at the end of 1st grade, why should she even know what buffering is? She can't get access to content. That's what technology and that's what broadband brings to the equation. This past 2 weeks, you've seen Keeneland doing their fall yearling sale, outselling and selling horses, 1-year-olds for $3 million. Data analytics and broadband is helping those folks in the equine industry go ahead and advance that space. I know there's a lot of folks here from both local and county government. Broadband and what it's doing for your constituents to be able to do self-service and to be able to care for their needs, that's just another enabler. That's where you're turning what was once a challenge into an opportunity. Agriculture. You saw my uncle's farm. I'm really bad about acres. It's about 1 mile by about 10 miles. I just know that's a lot of acres. So you talk about leveraging smart ag and using precision ag to be more effective. That's another great example of technology. But at the end of the day, all of this, whether you're using it for manufacturing and enabling IoT and robotics, whether you're leveraging it in ag with smart ag and precision ag, it requires technology, but it also requires, and you heard Hilda Legg touch on it this morning, it requires broadband. But here's what's really, really neat, and all of you should just sit here and say, we are so fortunate, is we have all the ingredients here in the Commonwealth. You heard Megan Sandfoss this morning talk about the $1.1 billion, and she said, yes, with a big B, $1.1 billion in money that's being allocated by the federal government, by the Department of Commerce, to make broadband available to everyone across the Commonwealth. You have companies like Accelicom, who morphed out of a private-public partnership with the Commonwealth, who've built out a fiber optic network to go ahead and support any type of organization, and then partner with internet service providers and others to be able to serve the residents. Here in Eastern Kentucky, and I saw them last night, you have great leaders like Mike Johnson and the folks at EKN who we partner with. So not only do you have the great ingredients, you have the dollars coming in, you have the infrastructure, but you also have great partnerships. So I'll tell you, just a huge thank you today for letting me share with you. We are in a fantastic position as a Commonwealth. It is going to take partnerships. It is going to take collaboration. And it's going to take a tremendous amount of passion for making this Commonwealth all that it can be. So thank you today.